Hey friends, I'm in Madrid and obviously the first thing that I wanted to check out was the parking meters, but they're a bit lo-fi in terms of you just put the cash in and that's it, so there's no digital interface on them. But I found these bike rental machines here with quite a lot of different options, so I decided to just take a look at those instead. So it's not really a typical travel vlog, instead I'm just focusing on different public space interfaces, because this is something that I think in many places is truly lacking and could be done a lot better. Let's approach this little machine here, and this is how it looks like. Okay, so starting off, this is actually quite clear and the buttons are big, so I'm liking it so far. But having the cursor visible on the screen is a little bit weird. Now, looking at the bottom menu here, the text alignment is a little bit off, and that help icon with the person is the only icon that doesn't really match the rest, but some of the line thickness is also a little bit off. And of course that huge gap between the buttons is just crazy, but let's go into some option here. And first thing that I see is the return button in the middle of the screen. And this functionality here is quite cool with the zooming of the map and panning, but it's not really indicated anywhere, and return shouldn't really be on the bottom, it should be on the top left where people expect it to be. Okay, now let's go to tourist information, because I'm a tourist, and yeah, seeing a list of text that you can only select and you cannot really scroll with your finger is a no-no. You can scroll using that old school Windows scroll bar, but it's really difficult to actually access it with your finger because it's a lot too small. And yeah, there should be a back button on the top left. I always instinctively try to click there. Okay, and here we have a point of no return, because I went into an option and there's just no way to get out of this. I just have to wait for a couple of minutes. I can still select the graphics, but there's basically nothing else I can do. No way to cancel, and the home icon doesn't work. After a while it reset itself and kind of restarted, so I can go into a different option, and once again here we have a couple of rates, but the text is just so close to the prices and everything is right aligned that it's really difficult to read that. No way to actually scroll to see if there is more. The scroll bar doesn't work, or maybe it's just too small to actually handle, and yeah, that return. But this screen is just, it's pretty important, but you can't really read it. I tried clicking onto events a couple of times, but for some reason it didn't work, so maybe that button should be disabled or something, because it clearly doesn't do anything, or just hidden. And then how to contact, you have a completely different font again, different font sizes. So consistency is definitely a problem here, and I think that you should really have a back button or an option to cancel if you don't have a specific card like here, because having the screen to be frozen every time you try to have one of those options just isn't really a good way. Or maybe at least those options that require you to have that card should be clearly marked somehow or stated like this, because some of them do and some of them don't. And if we go to help, we'll see another list of elements, and it's a little bit clearer actually to access help that way, and the fonts are more readable and bigger here, but it's still not perfect, and it's really not user-friendly. It's not readable, and it's not really enjoyable in any way. And also, as you can see, it doesn't have the first letter, so it says incidents, and information doesn't really do much here either. So I took it upon myself to look at it and redesign it in literally 5 minutes. So I focused on making it a little bit more logical and a little bit better in terms of the hierarchy and structure. As you can see, the main menu here is on the bottom, and it actually defines what's on the top. So I decided to flip it. So in my version, the menu is on the top, and I didn't have the time to pick the right icons or the right photos. I just wanted to make it sort of a little bit better, but of course it can be improved further still. That's just a 5-minute redesign. But right now the main menu is on the top. You can switch the languages in a place where it's most often at, so this is something that most people are used to actually finding there. The logo is on the top left. Then you have a grid of elements, and you have a menu that's taking a lot less space and it's actually more readable and clearer. And of course, if we had another 5 minutes, we probably could have improved this further, but it's more to show you that if you're seeing public interfaces like this, it's really a good exercise to just spend a couple of minutes and think about how you would actually define it differently, how you would lay out it differently, because in many cases, just changing the layout into something a little bit better structured gives you additional ideas and actually makes it easier to test it on people, because the previous version was a little bit chaotic, hard to read, and a lot of the problems you would get from a usability study would be things that are pretty obvious. So it's best to actually fix the obvious first and then test it, and then you might find that you might not even need a couple of these functions, and you might not even need like a full-on menu there. You might need just a couple of the most important functions on the main screen and the more icon for everything else. And in many cases, this is exactly what's the best way. Okay, but enough about the ticket machines. Let's talk about something funny that I found here. One thing that I found the most funny here is that the green light sounds is like a little bit like shooting lasers, and yeah, I find it hilarious.